Hey, it's Steve with the Pennsylvania Faith Coalition, and we are here with Wendy Burpee, who works with Genesis Women's Clinic, and she is a pro-life counselor. We're excited to have you here today. Wendy's been doing this for 8 years. We are very like-minded on the topic of abortion. It is such a hot topic right now, and we felt that we needed to address it. So we're going to talk about a little bit of background on how Wendy started in this career and background on the abortion topic in general. And then we're going to close the video with what should the Christian's position be on that? What does the Bible say about abortion? Should Christians get an abortion? Should they be against it? So we're going to delve into that today. So Wendy, give us a little bit of background on how you got started and what does Genesis Women's Clinic do specifically?
So my background is I was raised in a very, conservative Christian home. I went to a Christian school. But when I was faced with, going out into the world and got involved in a relationship, and I, found myself facing an unplanned pregnancy. And so I was terrified and very afraid of the judgment of the Christian culture, of my parents, of course. And so, when he said, let's go to Planned Parenthood, I said, okay. I didn't really know a lot about, back in the late 80s, I didn't know a lot about Planned Parenthood. It wasn't really a topic that was talked about. So I went and he said, let's get some information. And, I sat there and they offered me an ultrasound, which I was not allowed to see. And then I was moved to another room, and they move you very quickly through the process. And I was told, you're going to wait to see a doctor, and he'll be in just a minute. So just sit here, take these pills. This is going to help to calm you down. And so I took those pills because I was 18 and stupid. And I woke up and it was already over. So I had never seen that doctor, never asked any final questions, and the abortion had happened. And so it changed. It changed me completely. And so after that, that relationship kind of came to an end, and I got involved in another relationship. This one was very abusive, and I allowed him to kind of control me, and really everything that I did was, whether he was happy or not happy. And it was very stressful. And I became pregnant again. And this time, I said, I want to keep the baby. I did not tell him about the prior abortion. And he said, no, you're not going to have a baby. I can't do it. And I felt like he was in control. He had all the power. So off I went back to Planned Parenthood, and I went through with another abortion. And so that was a really difficult experience. The next day, I was very sick, hemorrhaging heavily, and I had to go to the hospital. I was not there but a minute, and I was unconscious, and they wheeled me into the back, and I was given an emergency DNC and a blood transfusion and, all the things, antibiotics to save my life. So that experience was really, horrible, obviously, and dark. And I was just broken and alone. And I didn't really even care at that point if he hit me or didn't hit me. I thought that that's what I deserved. And several months later, I would be pregnant again. And this time I didn't even tell him. I just went back to the place I knew took care of those kinds of things. And they didn't care if I was covered in bruises. They didn't care what was really going on with me. No one ever asked me in the 3 times I was there what I wanted. No one seemed concerned with my safety. They wanted to be paid. And that was really it. So, after 3 abortions, you are deeply wounded. And God never forgot about me. He was always there waiting for me to return to him. And a friend from my Christian high school came back into my life. She pursued me relentlessly, and she wouldn't give up on me. And eventually I got out of that relationship and started to go back to church, which was really hard. And I met my husband, and we were married 2 years later, and God blessed us with children.
Amen.
And then as they were in the high school, age, I felt God really pulling on me to do something. And so when I found out Genesis was hiring, I applied for the job and was pretty shocked when they hired me with no volunteer experience, no staff experience as their executive director.
No.
And, God was always in that. I can see that now.
Yeah.
And so I started working there and took the clinic to a medical status, and that's been great. So now we can show women their unborn child, let them hear that heartbeat, and we give them the truth. And that's really important because they scream in the culture that an empowered woman needs truth. Well, then let's actually give them truth. So we give them all the facts, all the risks, and a support system so that they can move forward as a mom.
Great. So would you say your extremely negative experience and close call in the abortion process was the impetus for you to begin this journey with Genesis?
I would say yes, but honestly, I took the job thinking that it was a clinic that just helped moms and babies. And I really didn't fully understand what God was doing, or even that he was trying to heal me. And I had never pursued any kind of healing process. I had kept my abortions a secret. The only person that really knew about them was my husband. And so I really didn't want anybody to know. And even when I took the job, no one knew. So that was a really kind of defining moment when I had to come forward and say, I've had 3 abortions, and now this is what I think this clinic needs to start doing so that we can really impact the abortion-minded woman, of this culture.
So in a way, Planned Parenthood's mistreatment of you was the genesis, no pun intended, of creating one of their biggest opponents, right?
I would say so.
So tell us a little bit about, and we're going to delve more into Planned Parenthood in later videos, but, we as Christians believe that they are just a singularly evil empire, right? And as with anything, anybody that's been in business for long enough, it's always follow the money, right? But what is your experience now with them? How are you seeing them operate? What do you think they're doing, their motivation, all that kind of stuff? Because you're in the trenches with this thing, right?
Yeah. You know what? It's hard to say anything good about that organization. And I've had people say, yeah, but they do, this test, and they provide low cost services, and, so does your family doctor. So I'm not a fan of using them for anything. The very nature of what Planned Parenthood is, and from their very beginning, was evil. Margaret Sanger, she was a racist, and she wanted the destruction of African-American children. Right. Oh. So it was very dark from the very beginning, and they've disassociated with her, at this point, because they don't like that connection. Yeah. But, history is there. We know that that's true. And you can experience that in very specific detail in the 1916 Project, which is a really fascinating movie about the connection there. But yeah, Planned Parenthood is about money. And that's the end game. And they are a $2.5 billion, business. And abortion is where they make their money. And they get millions. I was doing some research yesterday, and I think it was $67 million government funding annually. And then they make another $350 million in services, right? And then they're also doing fundraisers, raising millions of dollars in their fundraisers. So they're crying, we don't have enough money to maintain ourselves. So we have to close our branches. And so 50 Planned Parenthoods have closed in the last couple of years, praise God.
That's a good thing.
But what are y'all doing wrong that you have all this money,
right?
And you can't make it work?
Right.
I mean, I'm a pregnancy center. We're living off the kind donations, of people that love our mission. And we are smart with our money, and we are wise. And we're able to create all these services that support women. So it kind of has to make you wonder what's going on over there.
Oh, it couldn't be any kind of embezzlement or misuse of funds, right? No. We won't suggest that either. So you were kind enough to give us a tour of one of your facilities a few weeks ago, which was really fascinating. And you had given us some background on how Planned Parenthood basically churns these women through. Can we expand on that a little bit? Like, tell us how they typically handle a woman who comes in for an abortion as opposed to what Genesis does.
Right. So, I mean, Planned Parenthood is heavily relying on chemical abortion these days. So
you said it's about 60% of the abortions are chemical?
About 60%. So if you think about back when I was young, the fear of a surgical abortion was real, right? Some people wouldn't go because they're just afraid of that whole invasive process. Nowadays, you go swallow some pills and go home to the comfort of your own bedroom and your bathroom, right?
No fuss, no mess.
No fuss. So it's really, I mean, it's absolutely horrible that women are still experiencing abortion in their childhood bedrooms or in their apartments alone without any real medical intervention, right?
Counseling, nothing.
Nothing. Just swallow these pills. You'll experience relief because you won't have to worry about this pregnancy anymore, and it'll be over. And that's not how that works. Now, do some people experience relief initially? Sure. Right? Because they're scared. They don't want their parents to find out, or, whatever the circumstances are, But yeah, I really believe the damage that they're causing women it's beyond what we can even imagine. It makes perfect sense when you hear that 1 in 3 women are on antidepressants.
Yeah. Which is great for the pharmaceutical company. So they're not going to complain.
Right.
Right. So that's something that I thought was really important. Was you had brought up, there's basically they churn you through, but there's no follow up.
No.
Right. And you had mentioned, let's talk about that a little bit. The emotional scars that continue for decades afterwards, and they provide no consultation, no counseling, nothing. Right.
Absolutely not.
And
no. We do.
Yes. So let's talk about what do you do as in opposition to them?
Well, obviously, if you come to us before you've made that decision, we're going to allow you to see, your baby.
So there's a key because it's a person, right? Seeing them, right?
Hear that heartbeat. So that's really important. And then we sit down with you and we really are encouraging you to share your fears. I don't need to talk. You need to talk. You need to tell me what you're experiencing. What are the circumstances? Tell me about how difficult you believe this will be so I can understand where you're coming from. And every person has the right to share that and should. So we hear our clients out, and then we can address each thing. Okay, you're afraid of the financial side of it. We can help you with that. We can provide you all these, material assistance things, diapers, formula, clothing, car seats. We're going to make sure that you have everything that you need. Okay, well, I'm also afraid of, doing it alone. Okay, we'll put you in contact with other organizations. You will have us that you can always come back to every single month. We're going to maybe get you tied into a church near your home where you can have a community of faith around you, showing you support and giving you truth. So those are the options that they leave with when they come to us. And that's not at all what you're going to get at Planned Parenthood. They want to know how you're going to pay. And that's really it. It's just, how are you going to pay? And that's my experience 3 times over. So, and also there's the side of after they've had an abortion, whether it's chemical abortion or surgical abortion, some of them are so immediately filled with regret and just sadness, which they were told they weren't going to feel. And now they don't know what to do. And they call us and say, listen, it's been weeks. I'm still bleeding. I'm so sad. Will you help me? Can I talk to someone? And they can come to us and we will talk to them and we will show them love and support, even though they have chosen abortion.
That's great, because you're treating the whole person, not just cranking them out as a medical procedure. You're looking at the entire situation, financial, family, relationships, everything, and following through with that, which is just fantastic.
Yeah. And domestic abuse is a big piece of that too. Many of the women that we deal with are in a situation of domestic abuse, as was I. So, I was with this guy who was extremely abusive, right? And I did whatever he told me to do. And we deal with that all the time. So many of those women that are sitting in the lobby of Planned Parenthood have been coerced. They are abused. And Planned Parenthood doesn't care about that. They just care that they're getting paid.
Yeah, that's terrible.
We will return to our video in just a moment, but I would like to just take a second to ask for your support. The Pennsylvania Faith Coalition is fighting a full-time battle against the spiritual darkness that has overtaken our world, and we really need your help. Please visit our website in the link below to see if we can help you in some way or to see how you can get involved. And if you could, please make a contribution to our nonprofit organization by using the donation portal below. All donations are tax deductible.
So we're back with Wendy Burpee from Genesis Women's Clinic, and we were just talking about the difference between Planned Parenthood, which is more of a churning women through for money, versus actually treating the person. So can we expand a little bit about that? How do you treat them, and maybe give us a couple examples of people who have gone through and you were able to literally change their life?
Yeah, well, that's the ultimate goal, is to allow them to express their fears and then come up with solutions to whatever the difficult circumstances that they're going through. And many of the women that come in have a abortion past. So they've already experienced abortion. They don't really want to have another one. No one really wants to have an abortion. The rhetoric that we see is not really the reality of what your average person feels. So we really want to be a support system. We want to encourage them to make a life-affirming decision. And what does that look like? How can we help? If they have other children, which many of them do, we want to be of assistance in their entire family. How can we help them with their 2-year-old and their 3-year-old?
Yeah.
Or, all the different things. Do they need a better job? What is their living situation? Are they in a healthy relationship? Is there an issue with drug addiction? Everything that they say to us, we have to be ready to give an answer. So we do look at the whole woman. We look at her family and how can we assist her to move forward, taking on this journey of motherhood with confidence that she can do it.
Okay. And being born again Christians, obviously, we look at God is involved in everything, every aspect of our lives. Are you able to speak about that with them, or do you have to stay more neutral?
When it comes to the abortion-minded who are there and they are, scared and not sure, I always mention that they are a valuable, created by God, human being, the mother themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Because we don't want to just focus on the baby. Of course, the baby's important. That unborn child is important, but so is the mother. And it's her heart that we're worried about, her fear. So we try to really make her understand that God has created her and He will stand with her and He will help her. In fact, the reality is that if a woman is sitting in our clinic, that God has already intervened. He has allowed that to happen. And she has found us, she thinks, because Google told her.
Yeah.
But we believe that God told her. And they come and may not get the answer they thought they were going to get, but so many of them are so thankful to receive our services, and they leave with hope that they can do it, and we will help them.
Cool. So one of the things we were talking about when we were at the clinic and off camera, we said that Planned Parenthood, one of their tools is that they try to make it that it's not a person. The fetus is not a human being. And I had mentioned to you that I post on Facebook quite a bit, and I got into a 2-day argument with a group of people about the subject. And several of the women said, a fetus is just a tumor. It's not a person. It's just a tumor. And one of my counter arguments was a tumor left to itself kills the host. A fetus left to itself becomes a human being. Right. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, how do they promote and try to explain to women that it's not a person that you have? It's just a clump of cells.
Yeah. I mean, Planned Parenthood has a lot of marketing tools. I don't know who their marketing team is, but, science is science. An unborn child is a human child from the very beginning, conception, until the baby is born. So that argument for me, and I hear it a lot, is just total nonsense, because, I've had women screaming like, well, it's not a baby till it's born. Well, what is it? It's not a chicken. It's a baby. Yeah. It's a human baby. And if I'm 20 weeks pregnant or 24 weeks pregnant, as is the law in Pennsylvania, you can abort to 24 weeks, and I want my baby, well, then it's a baby. And it's wonderful. And we celebrate it. And we go to the doctor and we take our vitamins and we care and we intervene if we need help. But if you don't want the baby, then it's fine to just tear it apart and dispose of it. That makes no sense. So, the ideology is nonsense. And you can't have it both ways. A baby is a baby from the very, very beginning. And fetus, which, a fetus isn't a baby. Well, fetus in Latin means little one. So we need to learn to respect that life begins at conception. And, unfortunately, our state, Pennsylvania, we have people that are trying to pass legislation to allow us to abort unborn children all the way to 40 weeks. What a horrible, horrible thing.
It's like a full person.
Yeah. Like, I can't even imagine. It's barbaric. And that we as a society would be okay with that it's alarming.
Yeah. Well, because they don't look at it from God's perspective. And I think if you kind of neutralize it and you say it's just a tumor, it's just a clump of cells, then I think their idea is that the woman won't feel as emotionally harmed about the situation, because it's like, oh, I just had my appendix removed.
Yep.
So that's a big part of their promotion. As far as I can see, their marketing centers around making it not human.
Right.
But as Christians, we look at this from God's perspective, and we'll put some verses in the lower third. God talks about, I knew you before you were born. I sanctified you before you came out here. And God says in multiple places in the Bible that as soon as the spark of life, right? Mm-hmm. He knew who you were. He knew who you were going to be. So as Christians, when we fight back against abortion, that's one of our tools. You're talking about tools in the toolbox and stuff. We want to tell people God says not to do this because that's a person.
Right.
Right. So what has been one of the things that fascinated me when we went to your office, you had told us about this, for example, this couple who was really the guy and the girl, and how they were really planning on, like, we're getting an abortion, period. And you were able to, can you expand on that story a little bit? Because that's really fascinating to me.
Well, I mean, that happens almost every week, right? Where somebody comes in and they are really scared. And we love when the guys come in because they need to hear the truth too.
Yeah, we don't mention the guys that much. It's always the women, but.
And we are proud of them when they're sitting next to their girlfriends or, because that's important. They are important in this process. So when they can see the unborn child and they can experience the discussion, it helps to calm their fears. And there are many couples week after week that once they've expressed their concerns and you've been able to kind of calm them by letting them talk and letting them just put it out there, what they're thinking. There's never, I say often, there's no wrong answers here. There's no wrong statements. Say whatever you want. Tell me how you're feeling. So that really helps me connect to what is the biggest fear that they're struggling with. So yeah, I think it's really important that that these young couples, and they're usually college age is the largest age group we deal with. When they hear that we will help them, when they hear that they are valuable, when a guy hears how valuable he is as the father in this scenario, you can see their demeanor changes. They haven't been spoken to like that before, that she can't do this without you. Now we know she can, but we hope she doesn't have to.
Right.
So it's a blessing to see week after week people that some of them already have their abortion scheduled, and they walk out with prenatal vitamins and a baby blanket and an appointment for a month later, and hope that, it's going to be scary, but you can do it.
It's amazing. We really love what you guys are doing because, we're obviously involved in a lot of politics and I do a lot of debating and fighting with people on Facebook. And my wife's always like, Steve, go to bed. And I'm like, no, somebody's wrong on the internet and I have to prove that. But you're literally saving lives. Like, that's the amazing part about what you guys do. There's women and men who came in, and you've said like they were completely like, I'm getting an abortion. I just happen to be here for, whatever reason. And you've been able to turn that around. And there's a person walking around right now who would not be if it wasn't for what you did. We just love what you guys are doing over there. So thank you.
Yeah. And it's a team effort. It's I'm not the only one. I have an amazing team of medical professional women and advocates and, administrative assistants and all of these people that have that same heart for the mission. And together, we are able to change people's minds and hearts for life.
So before we close, you had related a story to us about when you were on the down in Washington, D.C., on the steps of the was it the Supreme Court? Maybe if you could relate that story a little bit, because it's really interesting to me. What happened to you during that, so people can get a better handle on what the opposition looks like, right?
Yeah, it was an interesting day. And I was there with my husband to speak on the steps of the Supreme Court for Alliance Defending Freedom. And they find out when we're going to have an event, the other side. And so they get a permit. They get a permit so that they can come and be disruptive. And they bring loud music.
What a great life goal.
Yes. And they bring in their professional protesters, and there's a lot of screaming and intimidation. And so, as I walked around that day and, had to have security take me to the stage and to just simply share my own story. And it gives you a little bit of righteous indignation when you're being screamed at simply for sharing your story of what happened to you for choosing abortion. So they can't even let you have your own truth as a woman. And they're screaming that they're for women, but they weren't for me that day. So it was a really eye-opening experience as to what's going on out there and what we're really up against, and similar experience in Philadelphia. That was a pretty scary day, and probably the first time I actually had a little bit of fear that maybe something was going to happen. And thank God I have my husband with me to, kind of pay attention to what's going on to make sure that I'm safe. But, how unfortunate that we can't even say we're for saving the lives of innocent babies without, being considered the enemy.
Well, diversity, equity, and inclusion for everybody,
but us.
Unless we disagree with you, and then God help you.
Right.
Yeah. It's sad that the other side is so, if we could use that energy to promote godly things. Yeah. What could we do in this world? Right. And and now we know because of different investigations that have occurred in Doge that a lot of these billionaires are behind this, where these people are getting paid. And a lot of them don't even know what they're protesting. There's people like Nate Friedman who go out and they ask them, like, why are you here? And they're like, oh, I wasn't prepared to answer questions today. So I think some of what you were getting were just people who were just getting paid to be there and creating a nuisance.
Well, our culture is really empty, and they don't have God. And they don't have the love and forgiveness of Jesus in their life. So they're looking to fill a void. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to matter if it's anger and hate and death, as long as they're doing something to fill the void. So it is unfortunate, but we know that God is ultimately in control.
Amen. Yeah, I think a lot of it is we're called as Christians to call out sin when we see it, right? And people don't like you pointing out their sin. And that is a great motivator for people. People will go to incredible lengths to get you back if you call out their sin. So you're seeing it firsthand. We're going to start hitting the colleges this spring, and I'm sure we're going to see it firsthand. But we're not there to argue or antagonize with people. We're just there to tell them the truth. Like, here's an alternative, like you're saying, here's an alternative to Planned Parenthood that you may not have been aware of. And our point at the Pennsylvania Faith Coalition is, here's information that you may not be aware of because all you do is watch MSNBC and CNN, and you fill your head with all this leftist propaganda. So of course, garbage in, garbage out, right? Mm-hmm. So part of our job and Wendy's job is to just try to re-educate people and say, here's an alternative. Let's stop for a second. Maybe you could be wrong. Is there the possibility, the minutest possibility that you're not right? Or
even just, why are you so angry?
Right. What are you so angry about? And we know it's calling out sin. People hate when you call out their sin. So that's a huge motivator. Yeah. Well, our time's up, and I want to thank Wendy. We're going to get more videos with Wendy and other people about this topic, because it is a big topic for us. We want to address this. We want to push back against it. We want to call the sin out. And we're going to come back and do more detailed. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit more in the future. But for right now, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more of our videos. Thank you.